It is said that there's nothing new under the sun, and that history can repeat itself. We've just went past an election where we've seen a question come up where they wanted to remove the executive form of government from Wycomico County. Now it looks like you may be trying to do it on the city level here in Salisbury.
Before we continue on to seeing no public comments just yet, but before we continue forward, I do have a couple of items since we did have a short work session, and I did email the mayor and city administration staff just so we can have a short kind of discussion on a couple items relating to some events in the last couple months. So one, I'm going to list all the topics, and then we can frame a discussion, and then kind of won't spend too much time on this. But one is going to be the comprehensive plan. Two will be the lots 1, 11, and 15 potential closures. 3 is going to be the October planning and zoning meeting relating to the density amendment. 4 is going to be to position changes, specifically relating to the DID department, and 5 will be a lot 10 update. So I know we do have the mayor absent today. He is under the weather. We do hope that he's back soon. So we do have the city administrator here, Mr. Kitzrow. So we're going to start first with the comprehensive plan, and there's a lot of discussion, and just want to take this public venue just to kind of lay some things out and just let you all kind of frame the discussion. But before our plans on a meeting, it was relayed to us that the city is planning on kind of ceasing and halting the agreement with Mead and Hunt and moving forward with doing the comprehensive plan in-house. And so I just want to, I guess, pause there and just have you kind of answer to that and just see where we are when it relates to that.
Absolutely. We received a full draft from Mead and Hunt back in late August when we started our review into September. The draft that we received, there's a lot of, I won't say issues, but things that we need to have further discussion on internally. So we didn't get to that full discussion in October, but we did meet last week as a group and decided that we want to take a further deep dive internally with our staff at the different chapters. That will be happening over the course of November. We'll have another touch point internally and then a final review in December. After that meeting in November, after we've had a deep dive, we're going to decide if we need to continue with Mead and Hunt to help us finish the document. And then we'll have another touch point at the end of December to see if they need to help finish the document. We're about 100 pages in from them. It's a good first draft, but there's definitely some work to be done that we're going to be looking at, and also just some internal discussions that we need to have.
Here's my plan to dismantle the deep state and reclaim our democracy from Washington corruption once and for all, and corruption it is. First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively. Second, we will clean out all of the corrupt actors in our national security and intelligence apparatus, and there are plenty of them. The departments and agencies that have been weaponized will be completely overhauled so that faceless bureaucrats will never again be able to target and persecute conservatives, Christians, or the left's political enemies, which they're doing now at a level that nobody can believe even possible. Third, we will totally reform FISA courts, which are so corrupt that the judges seemingly do not care when they are lied to in warrant applications. So many judges have seen so many applications that they know were wrong, or at least they must have known. They do nothing about it. They're lied to. Fourth, to expose the hoaxes and abuses of power that have been tearing our country apart, we will establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and corruption, and there are plenty of them. Fifth, we will launch a major crackdown on government leakers who collude with the fake news to deliberately weave false narratives and to subvert our government and our democracy. When possible, we will press criminal charges. Sixth, we will make every Inspector General's office independent and physically separated from the departments they oversee so they do not become the protectors of the deep state. Seventh, I will ask Congress to establish an independent auditing system to continually monitor our intelligence agencies to ensure they are not spying on our citizens or running disinformation campaigns against the American people, or that they are not spying on someone's campaign like they spied on my campaign. Eighth, we will continue the effort launched by the Trump administration to move parts of the sprawling federal bureaucracy to new locations outside the Washington swamp. Just as I moved the Bureau of Land Management to Colorado, as many as 100,000 government positions could be moved out, and I mean immediately, of Washington to places filled with patriots who love America, and they really do love America. Ninth, I will work to ban federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies they deal with and that they regulate. So they deal with these companies and they regulate these companies, and then they want to take jobs from these companies. It doesn't work that way. Such a public display cannot go on, and it's taking place all the time, like with Big Pharma. Finally, I will push a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. This is how I will shatter the deep state and restore government that is controlled by the people and for the people. Thank you very much.
Those focus groups will get scheduled in early January, and then depending on how fast we get that turned around, we will either be able to have it ready for a public hearing at the Planning Commission in February or March at the latest. So our goal is to continue to move fast with this, but since it's done every 10 years and we're already a few years late, we want to make sure we like the product that we're presenting to the Planning Commission before we go that process. So I'll pause there for comments.
Sure, absolutely, and I definitely welcome and I encourage, if not comments from our city council members here. And I do appreciate you kind of highlighting and going back with that. But I think we've kind of seen where, again, if even if things are wanted or kind of posed, sometimes when we let the cat out the bag and when we start to have conversations without proper discussions, it can definitely alert members of the public, and that's what has happened. I think more so one thing that alarms me is, and just going back before even my time on the council, is that the city allocated upwards of $160,000 for the comprehensive plan and zoning update all things that encompass those items. And then I know we've spent just about $60,000 so far. So my concern is just as a city who has already allocated resources to getting those things completed. I know just as an example, when there's things wrong with my car and I pay, the service provider, I don't go to a different one and start over. I hold them accountable for that product and for that service. So that's where I'm a little alarmed right there at that portion there. And then another thing is just, again, this is a big, heavy lift in a city of our magnitude, just about 34,000 residents. Cities of about 20% of our size have not taken on these sort of tasks internally without external guidance from members or from firms who are specialized in these things. And let alone, I'm not sure if the state of Maryland will, and the Department of Planning will kind of appreciate us tackling those efforts, such a big guiding document without, again, very firm and guiding, very firm guidance throughout. And then again, just get, our limited capacity of the DID team. I'm not seeing where this is something that we should even be having these internal conversations external from city council and the public, where again, in my research, I've seen where cities have had upwards of 30 community meetings, and we've had one community meeting and I think about 5 to 6 stakeholder meetings. So I'm just, and I'm not, again, speaking just directly at you, but you are the administrator, so I think the public should know about this what's going on here, and just that I'm going to keep saying it. I don't think we're going in the right direction. So at every instance, I'm going to say we should pause, regroup, and go back to having a firm guidance in this discussion. Any comments?
Of your draft as it is now, so we can at least review where the money that we allocated has been spent and what the comprehensive plan even looks like. We don't have no idea what it even looks like or what's on it.
Yeah, I don't think that's an issue. It is still a draft, so want to share it, just keep it to yourselves. I think, Deshaun, you have a copy to at least the link of it, but I can make sure it is sent over to the rest of the council.
I was making sure that there was a line in that email that says, please do not share. So I did not, and this is, again, nothing that you and my fellow council members, but it was specifically told not to share it outside of the planning and zoning. So, which is why I'm making it known here. And I was hoping that someone would ask for that link to the document, and thank you. I think the council members will appreciate seeing that draft document, which again, I'm not seeing the glaring grammatical errors or the misplaced, and I'm not seeing the referenced indications of a firm's lack of professional or just their competence levels. So I was looking for that, and I'm not quite seeing those things. Maybe I'm not seeing the substance, but I'm not seeing a lack of grammatical or logistical or linguistic concerns.
Yeah, and I just want to double down that we have not terminated an agreement with Mead and Hunt at this point. We are getting our ducks in a row. When we saw their full first draft that was submitted to us, that was maybe a rough draft, not a final document. We still had some internal discussions that we needed to get on the same page with on expectations of the document, which we are doing our thorough review of. Again, we want to make sure we get this right. And then at that point, again, in November, when we meet up as an internal group, we will make a decision at that point on what our next steps are. Having a professional firm help us guide us through that process, even present stuff to the Planning Commission, has happened in the past. And we're not saying that won't happen moving forward. We just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Hello, this is David James, founder of Bridging the Gap, and I'm here to talk about term limits. I'm here to talk about term limits for the county and the city or any of the municipalities. I believe that community, it does better if a person doesn't serve for more than 8 years. I don't feel that career politicians really do anybody any good, including themselves. For the person that actually becomes a career politician, they spend far less time with their parents and their friends and their family, and they lose precious time. And sometimes they find themselves in little packs and good old boy systems, and nobody profits from it. So, bridging the gap, we're firmly for term limits.
Joe Biden is asleep. Kamala is at a dance party with Beyonce. 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 Dance party with Beyonce. Dance party with Beyonce. Dance party with Beyonce. Dance party with Beyonce. Beyonce.
The public, and we are elected as members who are the voice of our constituents. I recommend a member of the city council. Again, it doesn't have to be me, the president, but a member of the city council, be a part of that internal group to kind of to speak for not only their district but also the citizens. I'm not sure if my council members agree with that, but I do. I'm not sure why we're not in these internal conversations that quite affect us and our citizens, and we're elected to represent them. So I recommend having a member of the city council there, but it also helps keep you accountable, but also it helps you all because you're saying, hey, we invited a member of the city council here. They were able to speak for the constituents and for the people. So I that's my recommendation. I think I hear some agreement there. So we look forward to an invitation to at least one member. Again, you all can decide. It does not have to be me. I recommend it's not me. I serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission. So we look forward to an invitation.
I agree with you wholeheartedly because we've been kept out of a lot of issues and situations, and there's been times when the constituents knew before we knew anything. Mm-hmm. And it's very embarrassing and humiliating. It is humiliating when I hear a constituent telling me something that's going on with the city and I'm not even aware of it. We've gone through this for the last, 5 years, and we spoke about it. And I think there should be some transparency and some clarity that we should be a part of everything that goes on, at least, if not all, as the president has said, if not all, then one or two, so we can relay the messages of what is going on in our city. So we can relay and have the proper information for the constituents that we represent. Because they're hearing things and I'm like, no, that's not true. And then I'm looking crazy because they know more than we know. And as you know, we have discussed this several years ago. We should be in on every situation, every conversation. The city council should be on, whether y'all think we should or not, because I feel like, to me, you're sneaking behind my back doing things. And then we're left blindsided, and we shouldn't be left like that. I'm not saying you in particular, but however, whoever, whatever, that's how we feel.
Short comment. So again, our plan is to review it ourselves internally. We could have done our focus groups in December, but it's the holiday season. We're not going to be pulling people out in the middle of December to come have these conversations. I think our plan is there's several chapters. When you see the document, you see how it's broken down, but there's very specific focus groups. Like one of the chapters is specifically on housing. We want to bring the community together. We're going to be sharing that document. We want to sit around, talk about that in greater detail. And there's multiple chapters in that same capacity. So we are not ready to have this go to be the Planning Commission because I do not think we've had enough public outreach. Personally, that's why it's taken a little bit more time. But I do think getting your guys' opinion into it, ultimately the document is adopted by you all anyways. So having it on the front end is better.
Good. concern. And these are all things that have been brought to me, so I'm now bringing them forward. I know a letters went out today on the lots 1, 11, and 15 closures, not relating to the actual, I know there's a density component and all that, but just the closure. So is there anything that your office wants to share just on kind of where that is and just what our plan is, and with parking too? That's another. We have now offered 2-hour street parking. So is there anything that we want to say or kind of mention when it comes to the potential closures of these lots?
Sure. It's a public document, so I don't have a problem sharing it with everybody. A message went out from the mayor's office to the permit holders late last week on Friday, explaining our position, our stance on the swirling news about the potential lot closures. That would be lots 1, 11, and 15. I'll just read right from here. After 2 weeks with no response, the city of Salisbury has communicated to Salisbury Town Center Apartments, that LLC, that the intent to file a declaratory relief in court, which is in process. Additionally, the city has made it very clear that any obstructions placed with the intent of disrupting our parking agreement will be met with direct removal. STU has been informed that they will be billed for those costs. We have finalized our declarative relief statement. I've got a copy of that finished about 30 minutes ago, so that will be looking at getting filed either at the end of the close of business today. I'm here, so I'm not sure if it got filed today or first thing tomorrow. And there's details of that, and I'll make sure that you all have a copy of that. But specifically, the city's stance, the mayor's office stance, is that we are not in a position. There is no breach of the LDA, so we have not lost our ability to use those lots. So will continue to have our permit holders park in those lots, and we will play it out however we need to legally to kind of go through that process.
Echo the same message that our chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission said at the last meeting, is that I think a good, wholesome, and sit-down conversation will rectify a lot of these things. And I don't know, and you can speak to that a conversation has happened with either staff or the mayor's office, and the developer and their team. Has that happened since October? What was it, 14th or 2017th?
I have not sat down and met with the developer. I know a developer representative has met with our DID team to talk about their application and their process for what's going before planning commissions in terms of density, which I know is another topic we have here. Specifically, in more details about who is in control of the parking lot. Unfortunately, that is now discussions between 2 legal teams.
I understand.
And we've not had any positive movement. So we're kind of in this limbo state right now. So we're hoping to have clarity before the 11th. So later this week.
Good.
And we'll keep everybody informed of what's going on.
You do have a licensed clinical social worker on your council team, again, who is, I think, I don't want to speak to your expertise, but I think you are probably professionally, guided in mediation services. I'm saying that as a funny, but I'm also saying that, again, I think a conversation will avoid that. And I'm more so speaking for the people. What's going to happen is no one's going to win this, and our people who are permit holders are going to end up losing when we have 110 people who are not able to park on next Monday or Tuesday. So that's, I'll leave it at that. But I am urging for people to get out of their comfort zones and to have a conversation. I will help and can help, or any member of this council will help facilitate that conversation and be a part of it. But it is now, what you said, messy and furthermore embarrassing. So